Hello everyone, welcome back to Streed's Guide to Fraggle Rock. And today I'm reviewing Season 2, Episode 3, Trash Heap Doesn't Live Here Anymore. This episode starts out with Doc feeling warm on a heated day and notices all Sprocket's food is gone. Sprocket says it disappeared into thin air, but Doc tells Sprocket that things don't just disappear, they change. So he proposes an experiment to prove his point.
Now, if we put this ice cube in this dish and watch it, what do you think will happen? Well, you fall asleep? Well, it'll take some time, but if we keep alert, we will witness a fascinating event. Now, watch this ice cube.
Back in the Great Hall, Wembley is wearing the silliest hat known to mankind since the Fez, and attempting to write a song about his awful day to equally awful results. Boober suddenly arrives and sums up my views on modern music seamlessly.
I don't think I'll ever understand pop music.
Anyways, Boober asks where Gobo is, and apparently he's away on a trek exploring the Ring Caverns. Boober leaves, but Wembley has a typical stroke of genius, asking Boober to stay with him so he can be in his song. Boober is unenthused, however, claiming he's got plans. Back in the garden, Pa's resting until Ma wakes him. She discovers after reading the books of ancient Gorgic lore, the Gorgs of the days of yore had gazebos, and this is generally not the funniest episode of Fraggle Rock, but this scene always manages to get a chuckle out of me.
Couldn't we have a gazebo?
A gazebo? You want a gazebo?
Why shouldn't I?
My dear, a gazebo's a big, smelly animal with black and white stripes. Sure, they run fast, but who needs them?
Methinks thou art confused, good Haz. Let me show you in the Book of Lore. A gazebo is a summer house built in the garden.
Oh, that kind of gazebo.
Uh-huh.
Pa agrees to build a gazebo, but not really, and summons Junior, who's sleepwalking, oddly enough. This is actually the only episode in which Junior does this, and it's never really brought up again. Anyways, Junior asks where to build this gazebo, and Pa picks the worst place imaginable.
In the clearing on the other side of the wall.
But, Pa, that's where we always throw all the junk.
Oh, you can throw junk anywhere. Just shovel up that old trash heap and throw it away.
Philo and Gunge are worried about the trash heap's safety, but she assures them that it's nearly impossible to kill a trash heap, though she may be changed forever. She tells them to bring her some Fraggle so that they may rise to greatness and save her. We return to the Great Hall, and Wembley is singing an uplifting song that's criminally short, just falling under a minute. Afterwards, Philo and Gunge arrive panicked, choosing Boober and Wembley to help Madame Heap. They arrive at the garden and discover the terrible truth.
The trash heap is gone!
Back in the workshop, the ice cubes melt, and this is honestly too uninteresting to talk about. In short, he's going to turn water in its liquid state to water in its gaseous state. We cut back to the garden with Philo and Gunge lamenting their despair with a song.
Bring back the litter we knew.
Oh, please bring back the cock and the gold.
Bring back the wisdom so rare and so true.
Bring back the garbage of old.
Gone, 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 gone.
Wembley suggests asking Gobo what to do, and the two head back to the rock. The Gorgs approach, and Boober hides in Ma's sewing basket with the worst timing, since she needs it while they have a hearty lunch. Random note, but Richard Hunt's voice sounds really weird this episode. Did he have some kind of cold while filming?
Get that egg for Daddy's dinner!
Hi, Pa. I was walking in my sleep again.
Anyways, the Gorgs ready lunch and hint at having their own Gorgic religion.
All thanks to the spirit of the great Gorgs and the generosity of the garden. Hey, Nani, Nani, Nani.
Ma reaches around in her sewing basket, with Boober narrowly avoiding her clutches. Pa asks where Junior dumped the trash heap, and he tells him that he dumped her near the tool shed.
What?
It's the Fraggle! Get him! Not me! Thunderhead the Fraggle!
While the Gorgs are freaking out, Philo and Gunge put on their Colonel Blake caps, and Wembley tells them that he knows where the trash heap is. They find her, and there's something amiss about our beloved Madam Heap.
I'm feeling a bit strange.
Oh no! Marjorie's turning into a fella! Oh.
We momentarily cut back to the workshop, and Sprocket is as sick of Doc's boring experiment as the audience is. We return to the garden, and the trash heap's voice shifts to various accents, and you can tell Jerry Nelson must have had a time with this episode. Unfortunately, Wembley and Boober are completely clueless as to what to do, so the trash heap advises that they have a sit down to think it over. The two rest near a tree, and Wembley channels his inner Gobo and does what Gobo usually does. Actually, I'll give this gag a rest this time. You get the gist. Anyways, Matt finds himself in an office and watches two men go into the elevator and two women come out, thinking the elevator changed them. Matt's fascinated by this and gives it a try, but finds he's the same and only the place has changed. This gives Wembley the idea to move the trash heap, thinking it would be wise to move her to the other side of Fraggle Rock. Philo and Gunge arrive, panicked, saying the Gorgs are preparing to dump Miss Heap in the river, and the Fraggles rush to save her. Luckily, however, the Gorgs are tired and literally fall asleep on the bare ground, giving Wembley a really dumb idea.
He walks in his sleep. I think I've got an idea to save the trash heap.
That's the idea I think it is. It's really dumb.
I've got this really dumb idea.
Wembley instructs Junior to shovel up the trash heap and dump her near Fraggle Rock in a scene that's frankly stretched out and unfunny. Wembley hops off Junior and they check on Madam Heap. She seems fine, but her voice is still ballsed up. She thanks them for their bravery, or rather, Wembley's bravery, if you want to be honest, and sings about her grand return.
I say, once I headed down the road.
Trash is back in town. Run to bear a heavy load. Trash is back in town.
Things are looking bad at the very ending.
Trash is back in town. Well, I got rescued by my friend. Trash is back in town. Trash is back. Trash is back in town.
Oh, tell him about it, boy.
Trash is back. Trash is back in town.
Oh, yeah.
Afterwards, the trash heap assures the Fraggles that she's alright. We return to the workshop, and this joke almost makes up for the really boring Doc subplot.
I just remembered. I don't like iced tea.
This is perhaps one of Fraggle Rock's most blasé entries. It's by no means unwatchable or terrible, just obscenely mediocre and run-of-the-mill. The same joke gets used to complete exhaustion to where it's no longer funny, and the songs are also pretty unmemorable, with the only one coming close to greatness being Trash is Back in Town. In my opinion, they should have saved the voice-changing gag for this scene. It's somewhat funny when isolated within the song. Another major issue with this episode is the contrivance of Junior's sleepwalking. It's only introduced in this episode and never really utilized again, so it felt like a plot device for Wembley to save Madam Heap. Which reminds me, Hoover didn't really assist all that much, especially near the end. The Doc subplot is also one of the dullest. It's basically just a science lesson in the nature of change regarding water. There's not much in the way of nuance besides the fact that things change, but in some way, they're still the same, I guess. There is a few positives, however. Wembley and Boober make for a wonderful team, and it's always great to see their interactions together, even if Boober didn't really have much to do. It's also fascinating to get a glimpse of the Gorgic lore. Overall, I'm going to rate this episode a middling mushroom. Definitely not the show's worst, that's coming up next, but certainly not the show's best. It's simply just a meandering, forgettable, and unexceptional episode. Well guys, that was the review, and I'll see you all next time.